The bystander effect is a social phenomenon that describes how people are less likely to help someone in need when other people are present. In simple terms, the more witnesses there are, the smaller the chance that any one person will step forward. It sounds cold, but it is very human. Most bystanders are not bad or uncaring. They are often confused, uncertain, or quietly hoping someone else has a better plan. At first glance, this behavior seems to go against what we like to believe about ourselves. Many people think they would help immediately in an emergency. We imagine ourselves as calm heroes, making the right decision without hesitation. Real life, however, is rarely that neat. Emergencies are messy, noisy, and unclear. When several people are present, responsibility spreads out like butter on too much bread. Everyone gets a taste, but no one gets enough to act. One key reason behind the bystander effect is diffusion of responsibility. When a person is alone with someone in trouble, the situation feels personal. There is no one else to rely on, so action feels necessary. In a group, the feeling changes. Each individual assumes that someone else will take care of it. The responsibility does not disappear, but it becomes blurry, like a task assigned to everyone, and therefore to no one in particular. Another important factor is social influence. People look to others to understand what is happening. If no one else seems alarmed, the situation may appear less serious than it really is. Silence becomes a kind of false reassurance. If everyone is calm, maybe nothing is wrong. This shared uncertainty can freeze a group, even when something clearly needs attention. Ironically, everyone may be waiting for a signal that no one wants to give. The scientific study of the bystander effect began in the 1960s after a tragic event in New York City. Kitty Genovese was murdered outside her apartment building, while many neighbors reportedly heard or saw parts of the attack. Very few intervened or called the police. Although later reports showed that the story was more complex than first presented, the case shocked the public and raised an important question. Why did so many people fail to help? Psychologists John Darley and Bib Latané decided to study this question in a controlled way. They designed experiments to see how people behaved in emergency situations when they believed others were present. One of their most famous studies involved a smoke-filled room. Participants were asked to fill out questionnaires in a room. While they worked, smoke began to pour in through a vent. When participants were alone, most of them reported the smoke quickly. When they were with others who appeared calm, many stayed seated, even as the room grew hazy. Some even waved the smoke away like an annoying fly and kept writing. Another powerful experiment involved what participants believed was a medical emergency. In this study, volunteers thought they were part of a group discussion conducted over an intercom. At one point, one of the voices began to show signs of a seizure. The results were striking. When participants thought they were the only witness, the majority rushed to get help. When they believed several others were listening too, response times slowed dramatically, and many never acted at all. The emergency was the same, but the social context changed everything. These experiments showed that the bystander effect is not about cruelty or laziness. It is about perception. People constantly interpret situations using limited information. In groups, that information is filtered through the behavior of others. If no one reacts, it sends a silent message that action may not be required. This makes hesitation feel reasonable, even when it leads to harmful outcomes. Fear also plays a role. Helping in an emergency can involve personal risk. A bystander may worry about getting hurt, making a mistake, or embarrassing themselves. In public settings, the fear of social judgment can be surprisingly strong. No one wants to overreact and look foolish. Doing nothing often feels safer than doing something wrong, especially when others are watching. Cultural and situational factors can influence the bystander effect as well. In smaller communities, people may feel more connected and therefore more responsible for one another. In large cities, anonymity can increase emotional distance. Time pressure also matters. Someone rushing to an appointment is less likely to stop and help, even if they would otherwise want to. The mind quickly creates excuses when the clock is ticking. Interestingly, the bystander effect does not mean people never help in groups. Clear leadership can break the spell. When one person takes action, others often follow. A single voice saying, "You call an ambulance," can transform a passive crowd into an active team. Direct requests cut through uncertainty and give responsibility a clear address. Research has also shown that training and awareness reduce the bystander effect. People who understand the phenomenon are more likely to recognize it in themselves. Knowing that hesitation is normal makes it easier to push past it. Many first aid courses now teach not only practical skills, but also psychological readiness, reminding participants that waiting for others to act is a common trap. The bystander effect is not limited to dramatic emergencies. It appears in everyday situations as well. Bullying, harassment, and unfair treatment often continue because witnesses remain silent. Online spaces show a modern version of the same pattern. When many users see harmful behavior, each may assume someone else will report it. The screen changes the setting, but the psychology stays familiar. Despite its dark side, the bystander effect teaches an important lesson about human behavior. It reminds us that good intentions are not always enough. Action requires clarity, confidence, and sometimes a little courage. Understanding our mental shortcuts helps us challenge them. Awareness turns an invisible force into a visible choice. The hopeful part of this story is that the bystander effect is not destiny. Small changes in behavior can make a big difference. Making eye contact, speaking up, or taking a single step forward can shift responsibility back into focus. Once that happens, helping no longer feels like someone else's job. It becomes a human response again. In the end, the bystander effect shows how deeply social we are. Our behavior is shaped not only by who we are, but by who is around us. Recognizing this influence does not make us weaker. It gives us the chance to act more thoughtfully. And sometimes, being the first to move is all it takes to turn a silent crowd into a helping one.